Hello and welcome to Walker Tea Review. I'm Jason Walker, here to taste teas, to enjoy them together, to share an experience really. So I've got a black tea, an Indian Darjeeling tea. We'll be talking a little bit more about that in just a moment. But let's go ahead and get this tea started. And as an Indian tea, I'm using a taster's cup, which is often used to kind of examine, look at Indian teas. If you are on an Indian tea plantation, there are actually tasters, people whose job is to sample rows and rows of teas that is produced, that is steeped in cups, just tasting cups just like this. And what you see I'm doing is I'm spreading out just enough to cover the bottom surface of my taster's cup here. It's about 3 to 4 ounces total, closer to 3 ounces if I recall correctly. My water's been brought to boil. We're a low boil, and it's been cooling here for about a minute or so. So I'm going to add enough to where the water will sit just below the opening there. That looks good. Let me get this water out of the way actually. Let that steep for just a moment. Now, while I'm talking about this, or letting this steep actually, let me talk about it. This is from the Lochan Tea Company. This is the Margaret's Hope MargaretsHopeDelight2f second flush. Just as the name implies, this is suggests it's from the Margaret's Hope estate. A second flush, as I've mentioned, 100 grams, available for $8 or around about that, because prices are originally in rupees and then converted over. So not a lot of other aspects to really talk about this tea, as far as Lochan Tea Company doesn't provide a lot of background information, although they are connected to an association called the Tea Cuppers Club. And you may be, by joining the Tea Cuppers Club, you get more detailed, you can get, I should say, special packages of teas from places like Lochan Tea, so that you can become a participating taster in a session of tastings, and you can get the tasting experiences from multiple people recorded there, so that you can compare or see how your tasting experience fit in along the spectrum of other people's tasting experiences. So that's something to think about, Tea Cuppers Club. So while this is steeping, I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit about the dry leaf aspect. To do that, I'm going to give it a smell. Now, Darjeelings can have, I detect some often key or common features in a lot of Darjeelings. One is a rose type of smell. Some of them have more of a muscat grape type of smell. I find generally, as it moves over towards a second flush as compared to a first flush, you can get more of a woody, baked, or almost and again, depending on how much heat is applied, a baked or nutty type of a component there too. In this particular one, the jammy grape aspect, a bit more subdued. And what I'm getting more is a little bit more of a woody type, and I'm thinking like a wild grapevine, that kind of smell. There's something that's kind of earthy, woody about this, and yet there's still a bit of a sweet, the sweet sap or the sweet smell that is associated, that's around that grapevine. So you do have a little bit of that sweet smell there, but it's encapsulating that woody, kind of stemmy grapevine type smell. Looking at these leaves, most of them are, let me kind of pull this out here. Most of them are a richer, darker, not less than seal brown. A lot of times I talk about a seal brown, a bister type grayish brown. This one's a bit less oxidized than that, so it's got more of a slightly more of a reddish brown type tinge to it. not even quite dark chocolate yet. With that, I see here and there, and I'm going to estimate approximately 20-25% are needle-like. They're fuzzy. They're gold in color, and again, this is kind of a light gold. I mean, the gold is fainter. It's moving over towards a darker, richer, again, more of a brownish type color than the gold or the silver. It's still there, but not that pronounced. I still get some reddish, what looks to be longer pieces, possibly kind of stem type components. The pieces here are generally less than an inch in length, inch maximum. Okay, and I do see some fairly intact needle-looking components there. So setting that aside, I'm going to pour. Now, with a taster's cup, you usually have a bowl. Let me see if I can pull out the bowl here. A bowl that comes with it, or a cup, I should say, is like this, so that you can actually, and I'll just go ahead and do it this way so that you can see. A taster's set often comes like this, and to pour it, you want to just set it down, let it rest, and let gravity do the work. You have a hole in your lid at the top that allows the air to flow in, so you get a nice smooth pour that doesn't dribble out too much. Let me kind of turn that upside down to get that last little bit to come out. Now, you can't see what's in the cup here, so I'm going to transfer that. Let me set this to the side, kind of give a controlled spill area here, so that you can see the liquor there in the pitcher. And I'll just kind of set this over to the side. Now, I do want to talk about the wet leaf next. Of course, to do that, I want to get a sniff of it first, and then talk about the appearance of the wet leaf. So, let's get a smell. Rich, fruity, a bit of a brisk bite starting to come out. So I'm getting, if it were related to grape, again, so kind of a tart grape skin type of smell. A little bit of a peachy note in there too. Again, kind of like a fuzzy, yellow, clean peach type of skin. Actually, a little bit more towards nectarine. Yeah, nectarine's a little more accurate than peach, but that's there. It is a kind of a stone fruit sweetness there. As it cooled just a little bit, the sweeter elements came out more. That brisker tartar type of hint died down. But I'm going to go ahead now and turn this upside down. Give it a shake so that most of the leaves will now rest there on my lid. Looking at leaves here, again, leaf portions is what I see. Most of them are a nice kind of a rust red type color. Not they don't look like they've been overly oxidized. They're not a deep, rich rust red. They've got a nice vibrancy to them, a nice shine about them, a lustrous quality. Less of that coppery red, a little bit more towards a olive drab slash reddish tinge there to them. And looking around, I still see components that are obviously needles or tips, I should say. Let me pull out one of them here. Small, half an inch or so in length. For the most part, they look like they're, good size, and not portions of tips, but actually fully intact tips or needles there, or at least mostly. Okay, so moving along, then I can now talk a little bit about this liquor. Just go ahead and give that a swirl for a moment. Good, good amber type color, not extremely dark, yet not faint, pale either. So it's got a good consistency, a good brightness to it, actually. Let me go ahead and pour into my cup here. Again, more of a toasty type element, more of a woody type grapevine still coming out here. Maybe if you baked a mango, you might get, or roasted a mango, you might start to get some of these kind of sweet, tropical, orange colored, fleshy fruit type smells. Briskness there, that has really come out to the front now. It's not overly brisk, but it is the dominant component at this point. In the back, in the aftertaste, I'm starting to get some kind of brown sugar, baked bean type of sweetness there. The brown sugar that often you find with baked beans, molasses type of aspect to them, maybe. Now, compared to other second flushes, I find more of a toast or heat element present in this. Looking down through it, yes, it does have good brightness. It's got good clarity, and so then moving on to the actual taste there, like I said, more of a heat toasted type quality to it, which means I don't get as much of the, at the same time I should say, I don't get as much of the fruity component as I maybe got the impression or expectation I would get from the dry leaf and the wet leaf. Not as much of that here in the actual liquor. Less of a jammy type of sticky feel on the mouth. Like I said, there is a briskness, but it's not to the extent that it just dries out the whole mouth and creates this excessively puckery type feel. There is a coating there, and again, it's more like a brown sugar type of sticky, lighter, smooth kind of light stickiness there, as opposed to a heavy jam, syrupy type of stickiness there. Okay. Aftertaste does not get all, sometimes if it's overly brisk and with that brown sugar sweetness, it tends to get kind of turning in on itself to the point where it's just kind of you just kind of smacking your tongue, trying to work the taste out of your mouth. This one, again, not overly harsh, not overly brisk. A light sweetness, still a gentle coating there. Again, a thinner brown sugar type of sweetness there, and coating, I mean. So, I would give this tea. I would give this tea an 88. It's got some, like I said, some toasty components, although compared to some other second flushes where you may be looking for a little bit more of a fruity muscatel type aspect, this one gets more towards a bit of a woodier, a bit more of a more oxidized, a bit more of a heat type component to it. So come back to Walker Tea Review to find that tea and the components of the tea that are right for you.